And we are live and we are back. Let's go. I'm Cory, your host, one app of the Corner Full of Fat podcast, and I'm back like I never left with another installment of Wealth Wednesdays here on the Corner Full of Fat podcast. We discuss health and wealth, finance and fitness, and everything in between. We want to make sure you save more and save less and keep making better your best. Yes, yes. However, my co-host Jordan went on paternity leave. I started these Wealth Wednesdays where we get straight to the finance information, no filler in between. And speaking of paternity leave, my own is coming up, and it might be coming up sooner than expected. So, been rushing, doing things, and so now I for sure need to record some extra episodes. So you guys still getting content even if I can't make it. All right, but I know y'all see the title of this video, and I'm pretty sure you saw this information drop if you follow any type of financial stuff. But y'all see what is going on with the credit card debt. I was going to talk about I was going to talk about card debt, which I'll probably do next episode. But then the credit card debt reached the number that it reached, and so we got to have a conversation about what's going on out here because things are getting worse. But before we get started, make sure to hit that like button, share and subscribe. Shout out to the YouTube algorithm. Make sure you leave those rating reviews on the podcast platforms as well. My information, as well as my co-host Jordan information, can be found in the show notes on YouTube. Jordan is at Stop Stalling J, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Business page is FinallyFit06, Instagram, FinallyFit, Facebook. Then FinallyFit.live is the website where you can go to sign up for the virtual workout sessions, 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday and Wednesday. And if you can't make that time, you will still be able to get, or you miss a class, so you can make time, but you're not missing the class. You still get access to the virtual drive that has all the recorded sessions. And do better marketing for Jordan's business. You get, I forgot. Oh, you get once a month uh coaching training. So I don't know exactly what it is. Jordan meets with you once a month. He does it with me, but he meets with you once a month to talk about your goals and stuff like that. All right. Then for myself, sideline underscore Cory, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And then for my financial coaching information, it is in the show notes as well as on my link tree on Instagram and Twitter. All right. Student student loan update. It's starting back up in 45 days. That's about as good as I can get you guys. Remember, interest starts back up September 1st. Payments are scheduled to start back up sometime in September. You hopefully have already heard from your loan service provider on what the terms and conditions are going to be as far as when your student loans are starting back up and the interest rate. But as far as the interest starting back up, that's September, but your new payment is not going to be due to sometime in October. So if you want to get ahead of the interest that y'all haven't had to pay for, what is it, almost 4 years? I forget the exact number. What is it? It was 3 years, then March to 41. Is it right? 40, 41 months that y'all had no interest. That interest is starting back up in September. All right. Now, the last and not least, don't sue me, sue your mama. This is for entertainment purposes only. Myself, nor Jordan, are finance fitness professionals. All information you hear on here is for entertainment purposes only, and you need to speak with a professional and do your own research before taking any action. All right, let's get started, y'all. What is going on with the credit card debt? Why does it continue to go up as I switch to the tab before I share my screen? Now I want to be clear. When they talk about how bad stuff is, and I see these posts all the time. Is that good? Let me make sure. I forgot to do the prep real quick. Yeah, so I've been on CNN before. One thing that you'll likely see a lot is people saying, don't, like, not going to Starbucks is going to change your life. And they talk about coffee being $3. I don't know who the hell's ever gone to Starbucks or been to Starbucks. Coffee may be $3 at Starbucks. Let me look it up. How much? Let's get black coffee at Starbucks. Now, who gets black coffee at Starbucks? No, nobody gets. I've never. If you've ever been in the Starbucks line or inside, the things that people order is insane. Yeah, here we go. How much is black coffee? It's saying this is 2018. But let's just call it $3, right? And shout out to inflation. $3 for some coffee. People don't go to Starbucks and just order black coffee. They get, I don't know. My wife should be getting peppermint pumps. I don't know. it's all this extra stuff that people actually get added into their coffee, which then increases the price. So yeah, some black coffee or the cheapest version of coffee may be only $3, and that might not make that big of a difference, although it does. I'm gonna get to that. But some of y'all actually need to actually stop going to something like Starbucks. You're spending $10 every time you go. And a lot of times people be getting food too. Anyways, back to the $3. Even if it was $3, and say you're going every day, 3 times 30, that's $90. And we talk about the fact that you don't have most likely any life insurance, not going to Starbucks. Let's say cut that out, right? So instead of 90, excuse me, so yeah, instead of $90, it's 45. A lot of you can get a pretty good life insurance policy, obviously depending, your health, depending on you have to get that checked or not. But depending on your health, $45 is likely going to get you a policy. It's going to cover what you need. My previous policy was $58 for 1 million. And I was certainly 28 years old. My birthday hadn't happened yet, but they counted me as, I think, 27. I got it in 2020. So it counted me as 27 years old, right? But it's $58 for 1 million. And now, I'm not going to say how much my number is now, but it's more than that. And it's only $80 a month. All right. And that's for being 30 years old on 25-year terms. I had to get a new policy. I mean, that is a very important part of your financial plan is having life insurance, and something like not going to Starbucks, whatever it is you want to count it. Some of y'all just need to stop drinking alcohol. Just drink, just buy one less bottle. The bottle of alcohol you're buying, once a month is going to cover, your life insurance policy. But when you see little things like that, it's not about how much something, and these are the same people talk about, poor people talk about, how much a month, rich people talk about the total cost. Why are you worrying about how much something costs a day and not worrying about how much you're spending on it for the total months last year? Like if you look at the budget template that I have, that budget template just doesn't show how much you spend on a monthly basis. It shows how much you spend on a yearly basis on a particular category as well. You just multiply by 12. And a lot of times my clients will say when they see that yearly number there, like you're spending thousands of dollars on something, right? It might be a couple hundred a month, but when you see how much you spend on a year, they have a different type of awakening. Like maybe I do need to cut that out / cut that down some. So even if you're spending, $3 a day on coffee, let's say 5 days a week, right? Every time you go to work, that's $15. That $15 adds up to $60 in a month. All right. And $60 in a month is enough for a life insurance policy that you don't have. All right. Now, again, most people are spending way more than $3 at Starbucks. You ain't got to cut it out. You ain't got to cut it out every day. You probably just got to cut it out. Just go one less time a week. You're probably spending at least $10 every time you go. That's gonna be $40 right there. Boom. Regardless, though, credit card debt. Again, we're talking about Starbucks in the sense of bad purchases that y'all be making, and it always goes on your credit card. So America's credit card debt is at $1 trillion, which is insane. Mortgages are first, then student loans, then cars, and now the fourth thing: credit cards have reached $1 trillion. $1 trillion. This is by Alicia Wallace, CNN, not CNBC, and this was updated Tuesday, August 23rd. All right, so I could have did this last week, I guess. All right, Minneapolis, CNN. All right, CNN in Minneapolis. Shout out to Minnesota. Shout out to Justin Jefferson. Fantasy football is starting back up. All right, Americans' credit card debt levels have just notched a new but undesirable milestone. True, right? Undesirable for who? The Americans. Credit card companies love it. The banks love it. Why would they not? They got more money. For the first time ever, they surpassed $1 trillion, according to data released by the Fed Bank of New York. During second quarter, credit card balances shot up to 45. Jeez. Second quarter, they shot up by $45 billion. What are y'all doing? I know inflation, right? Cool. But it's like, my goodness, why don't y'all to stay y'all ass in the house? They don't matter now because of Amazon, all that stuff getting delivered to your door. But like, my goodness, $45 billion in a quarter? That's $15 billion a month. Wait. If it goes up $15 billion in a month, that's 100. Okay, my bad. I'm thinking 150. Okay, that's going to be. I was thinking 1.5 trillion. $150 billion. Excuse me, $1.8 billion. Excuse me, 180. Look at my math. That's what happens in our core right after work. $180 billion in a year, nearly 4.6%, to land at 1.3 trillion. I wish we could. I hope they go and tell us how much stuff is getting paid down. Obviously not enough to offset a $45 billion increase, right? 4.6 increase. Also, by the way, too, for new listeners, I don't read these articles ahead of time, so you guys get the live reaction. And on household, okay, this is again by the New York Fed household debt report. Rising credit card debt and auto loan balance. Car loan. I wanted to do car loans because I just keep seeing, like, I was talking to Jordan. I keep, every time I see how much the new car or the used car payment is, just this year, it just continues to go up just within the year. And I'm just like, now I think it's like $725. That's insane. Insane. And once they finally start continuously or consistently, should I say, if they're not, I don't know if they're doing it yet or not, but coming out with that 120 term, that 10-year car loan, boy, it's about to be a mess out here. So I'm trying to help y'all out. All right, credit card debt and auto loan balances help drive right overall household debt levels. What about student loans? I guess they haven't been increasing. They did increase, but whatever. And mortgages too, by the way, up 1% to 17. Total debt in America is $17.06 trillion. $17,060,000,000,000 for the quarter. My goodness. Overall household debt has spiked. A trillion is so large. Since the end of 2019, went up by almost $3 billion since 2019. The New York Fed debt balance are nominal. Okay, they're not adjusted for inflation. Okay. I want to be clear. A trillion is like just on the verge of not, right? You got infinity, right? Like we can't, numbers just go on forever. But like a trillion is like pretty close to infinity in the sense of, or being infinite, however you want to word it. It's such a large number. 1 trillion. 1 trillion is 1,000 billion. And then for those who haven't seen the little math thing, 31 and some million, some change seconds in a year. Right? So in 10 years, right, if you got $1 for every second in a year, in 10 years, you have, $310 million. So in 100 years, it would take you to get 3.1 billion. Right. And like people have, nobody had, we don't know everybody's net worth in the world, but people have billions of dollars. But a trillion, let me make sure it sounds stupid on here. How many seconds in a year? Okay, yeah, 31.5 million. So we should say 31 million. That's insane. So even 10 times that, they're right. In 10 years, you would only have $31 million. And that's why some people do complain, people that complain about billionaires, why a billion is so much. Even if you got a second for every, since the day you were born, let's say conception. If you got a second, even for those 9 months of gestation, you likely still wouldn't reach $1 billion. You got to get, it's probably somewhere in the 80s. Right? It was 31. 100 divided by 31.5. Was that 3? Yeah, times 3. Oh yeah, saying you gotta get the 94. You gotta get the 94 and a half, roughly speaking, right? It's 31.5 million seconds in a year. Which the average person doesn't live that long. So you got $1 for every second, including your gestation period. Let's add another year on that to 95. Let's call it 96. Right? Subtract 1. Let's call it 92. You gotta live to 92 to have $1 billion. That's insane. Then remember, a trillion is 1,000 billion. 1 trillion. That's how much we see the debt going up. It's insane out here. People need to get it together. All right. Okay, yeah, nominal. All right, these increases are coming at a time when interest rates have, I bet the interest rates have. I bet these credit card interest rates are going dumb. I wonder if we're gonna have the average credit card interest rate being over 20% in this article. Credit card debt sets new record as surpassing $1 trillion. Credit card balance is increasing from 986 billion in quarter 1 to 1. Okay, just telling us increase. Total. Let me zoom out some so we as in myself. Okay, it just adjusts to what I'm doing. Cool. Total household credit card debt. Look, we see it, and that's the funny thing about the panorama. We saw debt start to decrease during the pandemic. Savings rate was increasing. I see a little spike here as you go back to normal in quarter 4, right? Real quick. That's likely due because I don't know if this is, this quarter 4, Christmas time, right? Holiday season. But we see a decrease during the panorama. Then as we get out, it just shoots back up. Insane. Shout out to inflation. All right, and this is that chart was from New York Fed. As interest rates feed through from the federal funds, I'm struggling with that. Federal funds rate, right? Okay, interest rates are increasing, mortgages and credit cards are increasing as well due to interest rates increasing by the Fed, right? That impacts everyday consumers. True, things do cost more, right? So it makes sense that things cost more, and most people, not most, but a majority of people are putting these purchases, everyday purchases, on credit cards and not paying their credit cards off. We should likely see a significant increase from quarter to quarter, year to year on total credit card debt. Sophia Bag, an economist. Oh yeah, shout out to Alicia Wallace. There, easy name for me to pronounce. But according to Sophia Bag, an economist at decision intelligence company Morning Consult, told CNN, so with elevated interest rates, paying that paying that debt becomes more expensive. Yes, and when some of the statements, like, okay, I mean, somebody's first time reading this, you're financially literate, but still, it's like, okay, cool. That's more of a math statement. Yes, the higher the interest, whatever it is, percentage being percentage, right? The higher it's going to be. 10% times one is less than 20% times one. I mean, goodness. And with consumers continuing to take on more debt, I'm so condescending. Why are consumers continuing to take on more debt? This combination will put more pressure on some households, true, on some who have those tighter budgets. See, the thing is, why are people with the tighter budgets continuing to take on more debt? Almost had a hole in the lip. The real issue is that during the panorama, when people had a time to improve their financial situation, whether you like it or not, that was the time to do it. People chose not to, and some people even chose to go into more debt. Shout out to those of you who haven't paid your student loans down at all during this forbearance period. 41 straight consecutive payments of $0.00 is what you did. Oh my goodness. All right. The average credit card charge is a near record. I told y'all, 20%. 20, the average is 20.53. That's egregious. That's almost 2% a month. Let me see exactly what it is. 1.7. Jesus, it's $1.70 per $100 in interest you're gonna get charged. My goodness. That's crazy. By the way, that's gonna be more than most people's cash back. Regardless, according to Bankrate, that's 20.53%. Credit card balances have risen for 5 consecutive quarters, increasing at some of the largest rates in 20 years. It makes sense. Again, interest rates. Again, according to New York Fed. Unfortunately, it's only going to go up from here, Matt Schultz. Yes, some, are things pointing, back to a better economy, lower interest rates? Some would say no, right? The gauge is that we things are going to get worse before they get better. Okay, that's according to Matt Schultz, how things are going to get worse. Chief credit analyst for Lending Tree said in an interview with CNN, what's driving it is inflation, higher interest rates, and just generally how expensive life is in 2023. This is true, but it's not true. The necessities conversation is what people don't want to have, of how much it truly costs, to live from a need standpoint. And when you just factor in your debt payments, this is why you need to stop going to Starbucks, right? Everybody's talking about, oh, look at the credit card interest rates going. Stop going to Starbucks. $0 at Starbucks. No money for you, right? Straight to jail you go. None for you. But the conversation people don't want to have is, once you had some information that could put you in a better situation in life, did you choose to act on that information? A lot of people's answer would be no. And it's been shown with what happened, the data we have, far as people who had their student loans in forbearance and what they chose to do with that money getting added back into their budget. Most people didn't make the payments, and most people went and got more debt. All right. So even if you have inflation like we have now, higher interest rates, right? I think inflation is last 40 years or so. It looks like interest rates are staying the last 20 years or so. Even if that was the case, people still aren't going to make better decisions with their money, even if you put them in a better decision, right? And yes, it is more expensive. Cool. Again, man, inflation is saying it's more expensive is redundant. Anyways, is that an ad? It's an ad from Lending Tree. It's an ad. Or maybe it's not. Okay, we got like mortgages. Okay, we're showing the interest rates. But they're not. This looks like a link. This is a link. Okay, this is a link. I mean, this is the ad. All right, only so much people can take. Why can't people take? What is wrong with them? All the labor market is strong, the economy is growing, and consumer spending is increasing. Why is consumer spending increasing? I mean, it makes sense. right? We're seeing the credit card debt go up, but maybe some people need to stop spending money. Persistently high. It's crazy how consumer spending isn't increasing as we're dealing with this high inflation. Persistently high inflation coupled with spiking interest rates have weighed down consumers. How I told you I don't read this ahead of time. How is consumer spending increasing yet consumers are being weighed down? It's an oxymoron. Which is, are consumers being weighed down or is spending increasing? Or are you saying if consumers weren't being weighed down as much as they are, whatever measurement that is, Mac 2 it is, the consumer spending would be even higher, which sounds like it would be worse as people being more debt. Especially those who were not among the 14 million homeowners who refinanced during the pandemic. Locking in ultra low interest rates, yes, and extracting 40 billion, yes. If you locked in an interest rate during the panorama, you hopefully are up. Now some of you went and got too much house, but for those who didn't, if you say no more than 3 times your gross, you at the time you got that house, and preferably on a 15-year fix, but even if you did a 30-year, right, your minimum payment's lower, you were golden. Just from that general mortgage concept, not overall your financial picture. My goodness. But I would say this. Maybe you shouldn't be buying a house with these higher interest rates. Why won't people just say that? Right? It's like, oh no, right? Shout out to FOMO. Earlier Tuesday, Bank of America reported that more people, I don't know, I saw something on Instagram today, a video today about how 401ks aren't, really what they're cracked up to be, and how, they're cheaper than pensions for jobs, and a lot of them replace a pension with a 401k, yada yada. And it's because people usually aren't using their 401k for what it is actually for. Because as Bank of America says, more people were tapping into their 401k accounts because of financial distress. Don't tap into your 401k. Now, if it's to save your home, which is in most people's situation, or significant, even if it's a significant, unless your situation was like a life or death issue, like literal, like medical condition, most times you just end up getting the medical debt. So just take out the medical debt, but don't liquidate your 401k. I would love to see the numbers of how much money people would have in their retirement if they didn't ever take out of their retirement. But that's the data we really need. The number of people who made a hardship withdrawal during the second quarter, also too, shout out to Panorama, decreasing, pretty sure it was temporarily, but making it easier, quote unquote, to take money out of your 401k. I can't remember exactly what they did, but I know they decreased some of the penalties and thresholds and things like that, whatever it is. All right, number of people made a hardship withdrawal during the second quarter. This is not during the pandemic. This is during this year. Surge in the second quarter for the first 3 months of the year to almost 16,000, increase of 36% from the second quarter of 2022. I guess that 16,000 is a lot. All right. While hardship withdrawals are being made by a tiny fraction of overall plan holders, say 16 is low, it's another indication that cracks may be forming inside households' financial situation. No, I mean, varies. Not everybody, but most people, if you take out a loan, it's because you don't have the money. I'll say money. 99.9% of people take out a loan because they don't have, that's the only option to get whatever they're going to purchase. Most people who take out a loan, it's not because they have the cash and you want to have the leverage conversation. They can do better use with the cash they have. They could pay for it cash, but instead they're deciding to leverage debt. That is not most people's situation. All right. So yes, if you see people taking out loans, right, their finances are probably not in the best situation, especially from your 401k though. I don't care if it's for a house or what. Highly consider you don't do that, because I've already said this before on the podcast, but you're just better off just from a general risk standpoint. And it'd be very different if 401ks had a significantly higher rate of return, right? Even with the penalties, without the penalties that you can face with it, but a significantly higher rate of return that you can get from your taxable brokerage account or a Roth IRA and IRA account. But they don't. You can't even invest in single stocks in them, and single stocks, not all of them, but single stocks outperform the mutual funds that are in your 401k. And not this is not investing advice, not saying to do that, but as far as the options that you have out here, if you want to take out of your 401k for something like a house down payment, just save the money instead. I don't understand why people don't do that. It makes no sense. Why would you entrap yourself and put yourself in a situation. And how about if you just take out from your 401k at all? If you are not in the financial situation, this is why. This is why. This is why I'm pointing at them. I'm showing to the mic. This is why I can only knock. I can only. I mean, I don't knock Dave Ramsey at all. But this is why when we read the baby steps, okay, baby step one is save $1,000, and in that step, Dave Ramsey says no retirement investing. That snowball, right? Pay off your debt as fast as possible. Then fully fund your emergency fund, 3 to 6 months. Then maximize retirement. Dave recommends 15%. If you're going to be taken out, just invest less. You're in a worse situation, right? You want to take that match, but if you take the match out, you have now entrapped yourself. And sometimes you're not a lot. I don't know what the percentage is, but there are a good amount of people who aren't even fully vested for 2-3 years. And you talk about millennials, a lot of millennials don't even stay long enough to fully vest. These are the conversations that people don't want to have. If you plan on taking money out of your 401k for whatever reason, so in short, you're not ready from a financial standpoint, just don't invest in it. If you're going to take the money, you're going to take the money out. This is for people who take the money out of their 401k. So even though you're investing and getting your match, you're taking it out. You're taking the money out. And again, you can't even get all 100%. I think what's up there? Is it 50% slash up to 50K? Been using ChatGPT so much. My ChatGPT is prompt stuff, so you can't directly Google the same way you ChatGPT. Yeah, 50. Yeah, okay, 50%, or this is from Capital One, but 50% or $50,000 up to 50% of your vested. So again, for those of you who aren't vested, if you ended up taking out a 401k loan, it doesn't matter that you're getting your match because you're not vested. And it's 50% of your vested amount. So when I say you're not vested, your match is not vested. And sometimes you might be in a situation where you're not vested. The money you put in may not be vested right away. All right, but usually it's not usually, but you'll see that the money that your company is matching, the 3%, 4%, 5, 6, 7, 10%, whatever it is, that might not be vested for 3 years, or they might invest. You might vest with a V, not invest, but vest. And by vest meaning that money is yours to take out. It might be, in 1 year you get this amount, 2 years you get this percentage, and then 3 years you finally the full 100% is vested. So see, a lot of times, and most of the time, I just be talking because I got all this information in my head. But it's not that I researched, but like I didn't research and see how much do people get from a 401k loan? What's the max? But then you only get that vested amount. There's plenty of data that shows people are doing really well. Their debt compared to their expendable income is okay. Nigga, what? This is the end of the article too, ain't it? Okay, so now I'm about to say there's plenty of data that shows people do. What does really well mean? Really well would mean above average, but like a B, not a B plus, but like a 84, 85. Really well. I mean, well would have to be a B. So really well is might be a B plus. Right? Excellent might be A. Their debt compared to their expendable income is okay. Okay sounds like average. Delinquencies are low and unemployment is low. That is true. We're seeing things go back up again. Best to compare, when you see any numbers really to 2019 and beyond numbers, because you got the panorama as it's an extreme outlier. Schultz said, but there's also so much hard debt that people can handle before delinquencies really spike. So what is it, Schultz? Is people messed up or they not? Like Schultz, I know. All right. New delinquencies continue to climb, as I said, right, from recent historic lows, according to it's to the latest New York Fed report. See, this has got to be careful if you don't just research this stuff and you just listen. This is why I talk a lot, and you just getting your information from me. It's not that delinquencies were at historic lows; they couldn't make people delinquent, so by definition, they went down. I mean, if I can't, you couldn't evict people, you couldn't repost stuff, all these different things. You weren't able to do it, so by definition, it decreased. It's like with the student loans, there was no interest being charged on a majority of them. It's that simple. So by definition, for those loans that there was no interest being charged on, the balance would only increase if somebody took out more debt. There's no interest being charged. Whatever. The transition rates into early delinquency for credit cards, auto loans, and home mortgages increased for the quarter. Came from New York Fed data smooth as a 4-quarter moving average, while new mortgage delinquency rates remain below what was seen pre-pandemic. Okay, so people who are getting, I wonder what new means as far as the time window. If those new mortgages are including ones that were gotten during the pandemic, which means it would be, by definition, I'm still reading here, the moving averages. Okay. If the mortgages gotten that were acquired during the pandemic are in this number as far as delinquency rates decreasing, that makes sense because people got such low interest rates. But I'm interested, if that's in there or not. But if people with these higher interest rates are also not seeing delinquency, even though we only had a year or so of that, it's not even a year yet. We're just coming on a year of people having these interest rates and dealing with these higher interest rates. Because I was working with some clients around this time last year, and they got a house. They got at 4.99. I was like, what? I said, did you take it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, thank God. Okay, cool. The moving averages for our auto loans and credit card delinquencies are the highest since the first quarter of 2018 and first quarter of 2012, respectively. Although those have picked up, they've not yet risen to a point where consumers are experiencing widespread financial distress. Well, y'all need to, if you're not experiencing it yet, experience widespread financial distress if you're in a bad situation. I highly recommend that you consider doing everything you can to put yourself in a better financial situation, and that would be increasing your income. If there was ever time to get a second job, this would be now. And obviously decreasing your expenses, lowering your debt, right? Cutting back on your lifestyle where you can. Eliminating, not lower your debt, eliminate your debt to zero, don't go back into it. Because I don't know when we're going to see inflation start to truly taper and prices go down. So I pay $4 freaking gas. And I've seen it slowly but surely increasing. I'm like, gas is $4 again? Y'all ain't saying nothing about that. Y'all started when it really spiked. I'm like, gas is $4. I'm like, oh, yeah. So look, if you're listening to this and you don't have 2 jobs, even if you're in a dual income household, highly recommend this, because same thing with the pandemic. Like the pandemic was like crazy for a little bit the first few months, but then things tapered off, and you could go out here and get your finances up, get your money up, and pay off your debt, be in a better situation financially. Things weren't crazy. Now that we sustain that quick spike in inflation, dealing with interest rates, it's not like interest rates have gone from, in this last year or so, from 2 to 15, right? They went from 2/3 to 7, almost probably close to, some might be almost 8 now, but it's not like we've seen 2 to 7 and then now 7 to 15. We haven't seen that. So we're seeing, when I say slower, just as far as the current data, right? We're not seeing as big of a spike in the last 12 to 18 months. So this would be the time, right? Yesterday was the best time. Today's second best time to get on it. American consumers have so far withstood the economic difficulties of the pandemic and post-pandemic periods with resilience. How if credit card debt is going up and mortgage rates are higher? What we need definitions of what withstood the economic difficulties of the pandemic and post-pandemic periods with resilience. The researchers wrote, however, so the balances are rising, but yet whatever. Rising balances may present challenges for some borrowers. And the resumption of student loan payments this fall may add additional financial strain for many student loan borrowers. Is most more than many? Whatever. I want to be clear. That is the ball to drop. Once these student loans payments kick back on, I cannot wait to see the end of the year numbers. When these student loan payments start back, it is going to be messy. Messy, messy, and messy. Pulling back, and I've always been saying that. I've already said this before. Pulling back on spending. I thought this article was short. Okay, I'm almost done. I was about to say, God dang, I'm still going. Pulling back on spending. Federal student loan payments. Are we going to talk about student loans? I can't even get it out. Federal student loan payments are, starting back in October, as I said. Like I said, again, 3 years due to panorama. Biden administration, they try to get that debt forgiveness. The Biden administration's recent rollout of repayment programs should help to soften the blow for borrowers. Yes, I recommend you go over to Debt Free Gonna Be on Instagram. She has an insane amount of information on the student loans. I would say I don't know if she's an expert on social media, like out of all the experts on student loans, but I would say she's up there if she's not number one. She has a ton of information on all the forgiveness, all that type of stuff. Okay, so the recent rollout of the repayment programs, right? The rework of the programs by the Biden administration should, what does help mean? Hopefully make it so people aren't struggling as much, but you still need to pay it down. It is what it is. Still, not all finances are created equally, and it may be harder for some households to add back in the monthly payment. They should have never subtracted it out. I know it wasn't your choice to have it subtracted out. It wasn't your choice to have the student loan, right? It just got taken out. But you could have kept your student loan payment in your budget. This is the first time I thought of this. I'm holding everybody accountable now. Even though they went and said, hey, now you owe us $0.00 on a monthly basis until we tell you no, you could have continued making that payment. And for those of you who didn't, that's on you. I just realized that. Nah, if you were making your student loan payment, if you made a student loan payment in March 2020 and then you didn't make any until October 2023, that's on you. I don't want to hear nothing. No excuse for you. No excuse. That's going to be a really big test for an awful lot. So is it? I'm not supposed to clap. What is it? Is this the same person saying these quotes? Is it that not many Americans are impacted, or is it that big test for an awful lot of Americans? Which one is it? These have to be different quotes from different people. First, they're saying not a lot of Americans are going to be impacted. Then they're saying a lot of Americans are going to impact. They said an awful lot. You see. I can't find it. Where's the quote at? Yeah, there we go. American consumers have so far withstood the economic difficulties of the panorama with resilience. I mean, there was that. I mean, whatever. Okay, this is still Schultz. This is Mr. Schultz. Let me see what Schultz's first name is. It Matt? Was it Matt? Yep, Matt. Look at my memory. My memory would be crazy. Shout out to my short-term memory. All right, people, don't test me on it. People's budgets are really, really tight. Now they're tight. What? Hey, Mr. Schultz from Chief Credit Analyst LendingTree. Look, bro, you saying it's not tight. The budget's not tight. Now the budget's tight. Which is it, man? Yeah, once they start up, they're going to be tight. What I hope people. Once Biden administration said 10 to 20K, if you had more than 10 to 20K as far as that forgiveness number, you knew your student loan payments were going to start back up. And in this discussion, unless you that forgiveness is going to forgive all your student loans. If you had more than 10,000 without a Pell Grant, then you didn't receive a Pell Grant, or 20K and you did receive a Pell Grant to go to school, you knew you're still going to have student loan debt. Unless you had the money saved to the side to pay off the difference. So let's say you had 30K, you're going to get 10,000 forgiveness, and you had 20K in the bank, waiting/banking on, pun intended, to get that forgiveness. You're going to pay off the delta. Okay, yes, once they start back up, we just don't know what that's going to look like. No, we know what it's going to look like. This is not fear mongering. People are going to start struggling. If people were already struggling pre-pandemic with their student loans, then you add this crazy inflation, 40 plus years. Then we talk about one of the biggest things that student loans are causing people not to do is buy a house. And then you have interest rates for houses on the skyrocket. It's about to be a mess. When debt piles up, it'll inevitably force people to rein in their spending even more. That's not true. Because if it was true, then why do we see credit? What's the definition? This is supposed to be a short article. This was not supposed to be 45 minutes, but I got to get to these last. Why do they keep saying things like this? Yes, when debt piles up. No, excuse me, not yes. When debt piles up, it will not inevitably force people to rein in their spending even more. All we do. I'm gonna have to start doing these in the morning, but I don't want to ruin my morning. All we see, mortgages, student loans, car loans, and now credit cards, that debt is increasing. But for some reason, okay, these are different quotes from different people. This is from Morning Consult's Beg. Who was Beg's last name? Don't worry, I'm about to go on my rant. Don't worry about it. Sophia. All we do is see debt increasing from a consumer standpoint, credit cards. Yet you're saying as debt increases, people are going to rein in their spending. But that maybe it's their spending of their own money, right? They're gonna the credit card debt, which is not their money, right? That's gonna go up. But their actual money that they spend from their job, that's gonna go down. This is not true. This is not gonna call Miss Sophia here a liar, but this is borderline a lie. This is why I tweet that almost every day. I think I get back on tweeting every day. But y'all be lying too much for me. This is a lie. I'm gonna call it. This is a lie. When debt piles up, it does not inevitably be for. And I'm gonna try to get to this sentence, y'all. Let's look up the definition of inevitably or inevitable. Since we just using words like this, why you can't redefine definitions. As is certain to happen, unavoidable, naturally, automatically, as a matter of course, necessity. In short, guaranteed to happen. That it's not inevitable that when debt increases, people will decrease their spending. One would say the complete opposite is inevitable. As debt piles up, people increase their spending. Because it's not like people's bills go down because of whatever. It's not like we're seeing people because when I watch the replays, I'd be like, dang, I was saying something, I stopped talking because I'm just over it. Then I'm like, dang, what was I going to say? So I'm going to do my best now and start saying what was in my head. But it's not like we're seeing people get into debt and then decrease their debt, right? As they're saying, as debt piles up, then we're inevitably force people to reduce their spending. That's not the case. Did Sophia make this quote about the consumer spending going up? Yes, agreed. When people have more debt, yes, their budgets get tighter. Consumer spending is increasing. It's increasing. What is happening? Insanity. Right. Consumers already have curtailed spending or dipped into savings to cover expenses that are outside of their budget, she said. No, they haven't, because you're the debt. Actually, no. Maybe they. Let me look. Now, sometimes I'd be like, how slow am I? Maybe I don't know the true definition of curtailed. Reduce in extent or quantity. So maybe Sophia didn't make the other quote that we see, how we're saying consumer spending is increasing. But let's say Sophia didn't make that quote. So we got conflicting quotes. We have literally in this article saying how consumer spending is increasing. Yet we have a statement here saying consumers have already reduced spending. You can't increase. Likely they dipped in the savings, yes, to cover expenses that are outside of their budgets. When maybe they say curtail spending, maybe they're saying they decrease somewhere in their budget. I can see this behavior bleeding over into something like student loan repayments or credit card debt repayments, she said. If push comes to shove, you need to start repaying your student loan payments. I expect to see those consumers pull back on their spending in order to make it work. She must not have read it. She must not. I don't know if it was officially a white paper, but she must not be watching the Wealth Wednesday's Quarter Full Effect episode. We already saw what happened when people didn't have student loan payments. They went into more debt. They made worse financial decisions. Crazy. I mean, you're gonna, when I say cut back, the money's gonna come from somewhere. But again, people probably credit card debt's going up. They're gonna find a way to balance transfers, all this other stuff to increase their credit card. Their available capital, quote unquote. All right, what we're going to see here is basically a change in behavior in order to survive. She said, again, student loan payments. You start repaying your student loan. You should not have started repaying your student loan. If you were always making your student loan payment before the panorama, you shouldn't have stopped making that payment. This is the definition of accountability on these damn student loans. I'm about to get this post out there. If you have a March, maybe, well, I don't know, because the pandemic, I think they made that, the panorama, they made that pause in March. So let's say you made a payment in February. So I know, before March. If you made a student loan payment in February 2020, no excuse if you can't work the new payment back into your budget, assuming it's less than or greater than, it's less than or equal to. Now, if it's more, one thing, but it shouldn't be more, right? But if it's less than or equal to the payment you made in February 2020, no excuse. None. You should continue making it because you'd be in a better situation. You could have paid it down with no interest. Then you could have possibly chosen to refinance, got a lower interest rate. Maybe not a lower interest rate now with interest rates increasing, but everybody's student loans interest rate is different. All right, that's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it. All right, again, CNN article. This is by Alicia Wallace. Americans' credit card debt hits a record $1 trillion. I did not know student loans were going to be in this, but we talk about student loans every day on here. Not every day, but every episode. All right, y'all. Again, necessities, debt payments, investments, lifestyle. That's the order I recommend you paying. You recommend you prioritizing your budget. Credit cards would fall right there, and the debt payments situation for most people, even if you do the debt snowball where you're listing smallest to largest and pay them off, make all the minimum payments, and you pay off put everything extra to the lowest balance. And then once you pay that off, you snowball or roll that minimum payment over to the second lowest one. Or you do the debt avalanche where you list things highest interest rate to lowest interest rate, make the minimum payments, and then put as much as you can to the highest interest rate, and so on and so on. For most people in both the situations, credit cards are usually going to be first. Usually credit cards, when you itemize them or have them laid out by balance per credit card, not just your total credit card debt, but per credit card, usually credit cards are going to be people's lowest balance, even if it's like a store credit card, right? Victoria's Secret, no sponsorship, no knock, Victoria's Secret, Best Buy, something like that. Those usually have extremely low balances. And then when it comes to highest interest rates, credit cards always have the highest interest rates. If you have, maybe outside of a payday loan, you might have some crazy personal loan, but if you got something, if you want to know if your finances are jacked up, let's say you have debt. If you have an interest rate higher than your credit card, if you have a credit card and you have an interest rate higher than that and it's fixed, you're getting hammered. We just saw it was 20.53% for the average interest rate. But all right, y'all, again, locked and loaded, end of the episode. Make sure to hit that like button, share and subscribe. Shout out to the YouTube algorithm. Make sure I leave those rating reviews on the podcast platforms as well. And if you have any comments, please leave those as well. I need to say that in the beginning because that's when most people are watching this. The numbers are going up, but I need to tell people to comment in the beginning when people are watching it. If you have any questions or comments, concerns, you can leave a comment. As I said, you can DM myself or Jordan, whatever, leave a comment on one of our posts. Reach out to us. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, let us know. All right. And again, Jordan's information, Stop Stalling J. Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, FinallyFit06, Instagram, FinallyFit, Facebook, FinallyFit.live is where you can sign up for the virtual training classes on Monday and group training classes on Monday and Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And even if you can't make that, but you need to come get this workout by Jordan because health as well, you will have access to the classes on the online drive, and you'll have a once a month check-in session with Jordan to make sure you're hitting your goals, diet, things like that. I'm not the fitness person Jordan is. I just partake, I participate. For myself, _Cory, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All information is in the show notes. Financial coaching information is there, as well as on Twitter and Instagram on the link tree. All right, y'all, that's it. Again, credit card debt is insane. Credit card debt is the one debt, no, you need to eliminate that. Credit card and taxes, student loans too, but student loans are a whole other beast. Credit card debt and taxes. Those are the things. It's like you weren't managing your money properly. Taxes, you might be able to get away on because you might have made a mistake. You might got screwed. But if you got credit card debt, you have a balance. You were spending too much money at some point in time, unless it's due to medical bill. Outside of that, you got recurring credit card debt and the thousands, tens of thousands. You got more, and you say you make $5,000 a month, and you got more than $5,000 in credit card debt. What were you doing? Whatever. All right, y'all. That's it. Remember to. Before I go, when it comes to credit cards, and I've already said this before, but shout out to the new listeners. Let's see, you go and you buy. I'm like, we spent $40 at freaking Five Guys like a week and a half ago. But let's just say you spend $50, at a restaurant, right? And you pay that off, $50 completely. You'll make the minimum payment, pay it off completely. Then let's say you spend another $50 at a restaurant. All right. Then let's say you spend $100 at the bar that night. So you got $150 now on your credit card. Let's say you then choose to pay off again that $50 as far as in the first restaurant you went to before you went to the bar. And you're like, oh, I paid that off. Now I have $100 left on my credit card. That's not how it works. The interest gets charged on the whole balance. So even though you technically paid off or put enough money in your card to cover that charge, the interest just gets charged on everything. So it's still as if you're paying for that restaurant that you went out to that cost $50. And so that's why it's like, you might need to stop going to Starbucks. So you're still paying some, right? You spend $3 at Starbucks, right? You're making a minimum payment of $2,100, whatever. You're like, I'm covering my Starbucks charges. Nah. The interest is being charged cumulatively on everything. It's not like the credit card company already paid for the Starbucks, and you got to pay them back. All right. And if you haven't paid them back yet, they're charging you interest. Not like they're like, oh yeah, you satisfied your Starbucks payment, your restaurant's whatever, your Starbucks charge. It doesn't work like that. You get charged on the whole balance that's outstanding. They don't sit there and itemize and say, you've already paid this for your Starbucks, things like that. It doesn't work that way. All right. I wish I would have thought of that during that the article, but it is what it is. Then see, look, 50 minutes. This article was supposed to be short. This article was short, but now it's 50 minutes. All right, that's it, y'all. Remember to save more and say less. Keep making better your best, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.